Hi and welcome to Plant Joy Co. My name is Annalise and I make planty content for the internet. They say that being organized is key in any walk of life. And as a plant enthusiast, I believe that being organized with everything that I do with my plants and all the things that I require, for their care and maintenance has also to be organized. So come along with me for some organizational planty goodness. Currently, I'm in my garage where I have all my setup for all my substrates and all my planty accessories. But I'll take you through the whole process and it's going to be 5 steps. Okay, the first one and the most important one is the substrate that you use for your plants. The second is the pot that you're going to be using, whether it's going to be a self-watering pot or a good drainage pot. The third is the nutrients and the fertilizers that you're going to give your plants. The fourth are the accessories that you use. And last but not the least, the fifth one is pest management. Another point that I would like to pay emphasis on is how expensive the plant hobby can be. For that reason, I buy a lot of expensive plants, but I try to cut down cost on storage, on pots, on buying things in bulk, as well as buying things which are second-hand from Facebook Marketplace. So here I have all my substrates which are organized in these plastic bins, and this is more like a drawer system which I got from Kmart. Now in this top drawer I have orchid bark. Okay, it's just orchid bark. It's the Orchidea brand which I use, and I really like using this because it's very clean and dry and really amazing to use. The second one is the leca balls. Okay, this is I think I bought this from Bunnings. I buy this in a 50 kg bag in bulk and I store it in here. Not all of those 50 kilos fit in it, so. And then the last one is of these drawers is pumice. This is the chunky pumice. I like it for my Aroid mix, and I also buy this in bulk. I also use coco coir. Now this comes as a dehydrated brick and then you have to rehydrate it. When I rehydrate it, I use this plastic bin for it, or this tub. I fill it with water and I just dunk it in. And once it has rehydrated, I usually leave it out in the sun to dry because I do not want any mold in my coco coir chips. And look how dry it is, and every day when it's sunny I put it out to dry when I'm at home. Now this empty bin is to make cactus soil or any other potting mixtures that I do. This is for propagation. Okay, this is a special mix that I have created for propagation. I use coco peat, very fine perlite, and I use tree fern fiber. And believe me, plants really root really well in this mixture. And last but not the least, I have my DIY Aroid mix. Okay, I have a special video where I have shown you exactly how I have made this mix, and if you would like, I'll leave a link, so don't forget to click on that link and you'll see the whole process. But basically I've used leca ball, I've used a horticultural charcoal, I've used pumice, I've used cocoa chips, I've used a little bit of vermiculite and orchid bark and worm castings. So there you have it. These are all the substrates that I use. So that's how I organize all my substrates. Let's move on to the next step, which is the planters that I use, or the pots that I use for my plants. As I mentioned earlier, that managing my finances is so important in today's economy. So I look for ways and means where I can find a good deal to buy things, especially where it comes to my organization. I found these lateral filing drawers on Facebook Marketplace, and I thought it would be wonderful to organize all my planty stuff and all the accessories I need for my plant hobby. Okay, so I'm going to show you where I store my pots which I use for my plants. So these are some of the pots that I use. This is a self-watering, it's a very big pot for a larger plant. It comes with a base, which is the reservoir, and then it has a wicking system which you have to attach. Okay, that's one of the pots that I use. These are smaller pots for very small plants. These are very good drainage pots which I buy from Bunnings. This one I think I bought from either Amazon or Temu. These are some propagation bowls with, you know, lids for good humidity. These are also some self-watering pots with a wicking system. These are really cute, I really like them. I also use just basic cups, plastic cups which I buy from Amazon or Temu in different sizes for propagation. And then these are pots which you can hang. You need a hook, you can hang them up, and this is also self-watering system, wicking system. And last but not the least are these pots which are also self-watering pots. If you see, I have a lot of plants, so I like to use self-watering pots because it makes watering a breeze. I just have to water them, you know, once a week or whenever the reservoir goes dry. So that's what I have in this drawer. I have all the pots. I also have an overflow of some of my substrates like horticultural charcoal, vermiculite, some tree fern fiber and some sphagnum moss here. I also store some of the other pots and my propagation vessels here, like these are some cups, this is another humidity box, and also some old pots which I have washed and stacked them up here so I can use them in the future. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to take you through 5 steps. The next 3 steps are going to be a combination because I have all my stuff clubbed together. So I'm not going to take it step by step. I'm just going to show you as I find it in the drawer. So in this drawer, I have all my fertilizers which I use for my plants. GT silica is used once a month as per the recommendation on the bottle. I also trust GT Foliage Focus the most for my houseplants. I really love this fertilizer. Another fertilizer that I use is GT Complete Focus. I use this on my Hoyas with a combination of the GT Orchid Bloom Focus. I also use CCS and Root Zone with Foliage Focus. And for my succulents, I use Succulent Focus. And believe me, my succulents are just thriving in my care with this. In fact, all my plants. Now, because these bottles are 1 liter bottles, I use these pipettes in all different sizes. This one is a 30 ml one, which is so handy when you're making large batches of nutrient water. This one is just 10 mils. And then you have the smaller ones. Now, this, don't mind this brown residue which is left on the inside of the pipette. It is from the root zone. Okay, it's got a little bit of a funky smell too. I also use Osmocote slow release fertilizer when I make my potting mix. Okay, and for pest control, I use Bug Killer, which is also added to my mix. And I used to use systemic houseplant insect control. However, it's no longer available in Australia. I used to buy it off Amazon, but for the last 1 year, I just cannot find it online. So what I've done is I've filled some of this bug killer into this because it's really handy. You can just sprinkle it over. Now let's go to pest management. Now something that I really trust is PureCrop. For all my plants, I usually try to manage the pest in my house by spraying this as per the recommendation once a month on my plants. And I also have this handy dandy sprayer which I use, Mancozeb, which is a garden fungicide and miticide, which I use on my Hoyas, and believe me, this works its magic. When I receive my plants, I also make a DIY spray, which is a combination of neem oil and eco oil, as well as some just dish soap, and I buy this alcohol in bulk. So I add a little bit of alcohol with water in a sprayer similar to this, and I just spray my plants when I receive them, and I keep them in a little box so that they can, if there's any pests which are lurking around, they will be killed. So let me put this back. So these are all the accessories I use for plant care. I love buying different cover pots, and if you know me, you know that I like the white aesthetic. So I love to buy these white ceramic pots in different sizes according to the plastic pot that the plant is in. And these are some of the lifters just to lift the plant up. I also use these potting mats which I've bought from Temu. I really like this one. It's quite a big mat, and then you just have to button these up together, and then it becomes a potting mat for you. It's so beautiful and iridescent. That's the biggest size I have. And then there's a smaller one for smaller potting task that I would undertake. So this is a smaller one. This is a full plastic one. And similar to that, it has the buttons here. And it becomes a small potting mat for you. It's so convenient. And then once I use it, I spray it with my garden hose so that I ensure that it's always clean for my next use. Okay, moving on. These are some of the trellises I use for my Hoyas. Now this one, I believe it came free with one of the plants I bought from a seller online. This one is from Temu. Then this one is just a simple stake, which is again from Temu or from Amazon. This is a garden stake which I use for my bigger plants, and I like this because it is expandable. So you just open it and then you pull it up and you can expand it to the height of the plant. It's very sturdy and it's good for bigger plants. I really like these. I also make my own DIY trellises, and I use crafting wire which I buy from Amazon. That is one silver one, and I think this is, I don't remember the gauge that it is, but it's very malleable. That's one. And then some bonsai wire which comes in this pack of 3, which I bought from Bunnings warehouse. Again, it's in different gauges. This one's the thickest and then thinner. And then this one is also just garden wire, which I picked up from Temu. So depending on the plant, I would use the wire that I would need for trellising it. When I go overseas, I need someone to take care of the hundreds of plants that I have in my collection. And I find different ways to manage that. This is one which is like a wand, and you can fill water in it, and it's got a little hole down and it drips water. I also use these sauce bottles, and I just turn them upside down on my moss poles, as well as drip irrigation, which is on a battery. It's battery powered, and if you see my videos or you follow me on TikTok, you would see how I set it up. And then let's get back to these sprayers. These are small sprayers. So one I put neem oil, and this one is for alcohol. Now I'm a very forgetful person. I forget the names of my plants sometimes because I have so many, and if they're not very common names, I do forget. So I label all my plants. These are bought online from Temu. They're also available in Bunnings Warehouse as well as on Amazon. These are some of the propagation pins I use. These are just called strawberry pins. I'm not too sure where I bought these from, but definitely online on Amazon. They're available in this orange color. Even on Temu, they are available in this orange color in different sizes. So I have them here in this as well as this size. So this is for, you know, a longer stem that you are propagating. Then I also use these different types of clips, okay, to adhere the plant to a trellis to give it some kind of support. I also use this Velcro tape, plant tape. I usually cut them in half because I don't like, they're too thick, I believe, and I like to cut them in half, just like so. I'll show you how I cut them in half. So I just hold it like this and I cut it in half, and this is what I say being cost effective. I also have this trolley and these little buckets where I store all my wire cutters, my scissors, my pruners, my box cutter when I receive all my plants, nose pliers, little spoons, textures, permanent markers, and then all my overflow clips, earbuds for those silly, horrible mealybugs, a little toothbrush to clean my pots. I also have this S hook where I have different types of brushes which I use to clean my pots. Little scourers here, a microfiber cloth and a bigger microfiber cloth to wipe those pots dry. I also make my own moss pole, so I use this garden mesh which is coated, and I use these cutters for it, and then I make some trellises for my Hoyas using the rabbit fence mesh. So these are all the accessories I use, and there you have it, all the 5 organizational tips that I have and I use for my plant care. I hope you liked this video. If you liked all the content I've shared today, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I really love it when some of my viewers leave me a comment about, you know, what they liked or didn't like. Even if it's a brickbat and not a bouquet, I really appreciate it because it goes a long way in improving my skills as a content creator and as a plant enthusiast. So thanks for watching. Until next time, see ya.